Characters on the sidelines throughout NFL history. It's time to talk NFL 100's all-time team presented by the Home Depot. And as part of the league continuing to celebrate its 100th season, a 26-member blue ribbon voting panel has selected the all-time team. We're happy to reveal the 20 head coaches that are finalists for that team. 10 head coaches will ultimately make the cut, with the first two being revealed this Friday at 8 p.m. on NFL Network. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the 20 finalists. We're seeing these for the first time.
Okay, right out the banks, Bill Belichick, who is fascinating as part of the special. So how does he talk about himself as it relates to the rest
Allow
of
myself
the
to introduce myself.
Can I say a thing about Weeb Eubank?
Yeah.
He was the coach who won the two biggest games in NFL history. The greatest game ever played. He was coach of the Colts, beating the Giants in Yankee Stadium, and then was the coach of Namath and the Jets when they upset the Colts several years later. So I love seeing Weeb Eubank in that list.
Let's take a look at the next 7 coaches.
Tony Dungy, I see you.
Yeah, what sticks out to you on this list?
All right, Curly Lambeau, yeah, Tom Landry, those things, I don't think those are surprises, obviously. Madden.
I love the league.
Marv Levy.
One of the hardest things to do in the world is lose 4 straight Super Bowls, and I mean that completely seriously.
John Madden.
4 straight.
So who didn't make the list? Let's see who's the final list here.
Final 6.
Don Shula is still sitting on the mountaintop, right? Still sitting there, actually not that close. Bill Walsh changed the game, and then Peter Parcells.
Yeah, I mean, sure, the tuna. You know, I don't see some names, though, here. I don't see Don Coryell. I don't see Chuck Knox. I don't see some really, really notable coaches. Tom Flores. Very interesting to see who made the top 20 and who didn't make the top 20.
We'll get all the explanations on NFL Network. There's a lot to take in here, right? Coaches ranging from 1922, you had Fritz Pollard, Guy Chamberlain, all the way up to present day with Bill Belichick. It's a testament to the game's history, but what stands out to you on this list?
Where's Tom Coughlin? Tom Coughlin has won 2 Super Bowls with the New York Giants. Tom Coughlin went to several AFC playoffs with an expansion Jacksonville Jaguars. If you're going to put Belichick on that list, to me, you at least have to put Coughlin on that list as one of his only adversaries who beat him in those big games. Tom Coughlin belongs to be in that top 20 list.
And to piggyback that, he helped bring the Jacksonville Jaguars into the NFL as a new franchise. They went 14-2. They ended up having a heartbreaking loss in the playoff. They should have gone to the Super Bowl with that year, too. So add that to his list.
It's still a fantastic list. And I like some of the ones that it's harder in this day and age now to be an innovator because the game has already been crafted. Paul Brown did some unbelievable things in terms of creating rules, changing the game. This guy had the foresight 50 years ago to put a transponder in the quarterback's helmet and speak to him from the sideline. We did a thing on the show. It was so long ago that they were picking up police signals and taxi cab calls, and that's how long ago it was. Paul Brown, complete visionary. I'd love to see him there.
I'm looking at other names who aren't there. I'm just going through my mind here, okay?
Here, it's all snubs. Who else you got?
Is Mike Ditka on this list?
No.
The greatest team maybe to ever play football, the 1985 Bears. They went to the playoffs all those years. Mike Ditka doesn't make this list. Look, I love the Guy Chamberlains and the Steve Owen and all these names. To me, it's like modern football sometimes gets a slight when you got these blue ribbon panels and you don't get some of the names that you think are givens. Coughlin and Ditka, to me, if you're just talking about greatest teams and greatest wins and big moments in NFL history, they belong on that list.
Would you put Ditka on that list?
I would not, because this is what happens. You start to look back on these guys, and as much as Iron Mike is a legend and almost a character, some of his legacy is you only got one. You had the greatest defense in history, and you only got one, and Buddy Ryan left, and you couldn't win another one. He says it himself in these specials. I thought there were going to be more, and I think that's part of what's attached to him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that big season in '85, but then he goes on to the Saints, right? And things just didn't look like the same. I think Jimmy Johnson's another one that's interesting about him not being on that list. Obviously, there was the power struggle between him and Jerry. You know, when you whittle this thing down, like if this had been a top 25 list, maybe all 5 of those guys are on there. But
Jimmy is there if he's there for the 3rd Super Bowl, too.
In the modern era, it's Jimmy Johnson. It's Bill Belichick. Mike Shanahan doesn't get on. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings, and he's been one of the best offensive minds to ever grace the game. Again, I love Tony Dungy.
Shanahan, that's good.
Love Tony Dungy. Love some of these other names that we see. You could make the argument that Mike Shanahan, that Tom Coughlin, those guys belong on the list. Modern era, if Tony Dungy's on.
Here's one that's kind of like honorable mention for me, and he's an active coach, so it's hard too. Is Andy Reid, and I know they have never won a Super Bowl. It goes with Marv Levy, but you look at what Andy Reid has done for 2 different franchises and throughout his tenure with offenses. I mean, I think he should.
If Andy Reid's in the conversation, and Sean Payton's in the conversation. Yeah. And I think there is anti-recency bias here. I think there is a real effort to respect people 80 years ago, 70 years ago. ago, which there should be. And I think they get a little bit of blessing as opposed to some of the guys who are just killing it now, because I think you want a well-rounded field. I'm picking up on that, though.
It's the NFL 100 all-time team presented by the Home Depot. All of your questions that you have, hopefully